All right, so this is the final thing that we got to talk about and discuss. Right, it deals with adding and subtracting radicals. All right, so we got up here is a couple examples of how we're going to go through this. All right, just like with simplifying, just like with multiplying, the first thing you're going to look to do is simplify down all the radicals that you can. So here in this first example, we've got a radical 2 that doesn't simplify down. You got another radical 2 that doesn't simplify down. But you've got a radical 8, right? And hopefully by now you're kind of picking up on a pattern of which ones can simplify down and which ones can't. All right, if you haven't necessarily picked up on that yet, that's fine. All right, just go ahead and try to break it down to its prime factorization. Remember, our pairs go on the outside, so we've got a pair of 2's that goes on the outside. We've got a singular 1 or singular 2 that'll also go on the inside. Okay, so our radical 8 is going to simplify down to 2 radical 2. All right, so what we can do is when we rewrite this, we're going to rewrite the radical 2's just the same. And we know our radical 8 is going to be 2 radical 2. Right, and that's just through our simplification stuff. All right, the next thing we're going to do is actually deal with multiplication. All right, and that'll be in the previous video that we talked about. So far, nothing new has happened. All right, we've just dealt with simplifying, and now we're just dealing with multiplying. We know numbers on the outside get multiplied, so this 2 will get multiplied to that 2, and numbers on the inside get multiplied. So since there's nothing on the inside with the 2 on the outside, the 2 that's being multiplied to the outside 2, that is just going to stay a radical 2 on the inside. Okay. The important thing now when you get to the addition and subtraction part is looking at what is actually inside the radical. So all 3 of these terms have got a radical 2 in them. Right? Whenever they have a radical 2, you can kind of think of that as our combining like terms, right? Or as I like to call it, our CLR, right? We're combining like radicals. All right, so since all of those are radical 2, I know my final answer has to be in terms of radical 2. And all I'm looking at are my coefficients of those radicals. So I've got a negative 3 minus a 2 plus 4, right? So negative 3 minus 2 is going to give us negative 5. Negative 5 plus 4 is going to give us negative 1. But remember, when that's a 1, we don't actually have to write that 1 out. So that would just be negative radical 2. All right, so since all of those are radical 2, we can go ahead and combine all of those together. All right, number 2 here is going to be pretty much the same exact process, except all right, we probably want to go ahead and try to simplify at the beginning. All right, so we actually don't have to simplify here. I'm actually going to go ahead and combine these 2 before I simplify it down because I know if they're both radical 54, they can be combined. So this is essentially saying 2 minus 1. So the problem I'm now working with is radical 54 plus 3 radical 24. So I need to go ahead and do the prime factorization of both 54 and 24. And go ahead and simplify down both of those radicals. All right, so let's go ahead and start with 54. 54 is going to break down to 9 and 6. 6 breaks down to 2 and 3. 9 breaks down to 3 and 3. So our prime factorization is 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. So we've got a pair of 3's that will go on the outside. We've got a single 2 on the inside and a single 3 on the inside that get multiplied together. All right, so 54 is going to turn into 3 radical 6. 24, we're going to break down into 6 and 4, 2 and 2, 2 and 3. So it has got a pair of 2's that will go on the outside. It's got a single 2 on the inside and a single 3 on the inside. So when we multiply those 2 quantities together, it's going to give you 2 radical 6. All right, but the thing to remember is that's just radical 24. All right, we've got 3 of those, so we have to take the 3 that's on the outside and multiply it to the 2 that's on the outside, but inside the parentheses. 3 times 2 is going to give us 6. And then when it comes to the addition part, we need to make sure that they are both radical 6. And since they are both radical 6, we can go ahead and do the operation